Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the PureGT Social Series. This is a race we do pretty much every week now, and we're very proud to be doing it. I am joined tonight with Dom Bessel. I don't know if he is here, but we can do a little bit of an introduction while we're waiting on Dom to arrive. We're just joining in the qualifying session. Mike Hart is on top at the moment with a 5:59.50 at this incredible track. This track that we all know and we all, or most of us love, not everybody, but most of us love this track. This is the Nurburgring in Industriefahrten, and it's a very, very nice track to watch these old LMP2 cars go around, as we see Dom going for a little spin there, but it's all okay. Chris Knox, one of the admins for this series, sat in P2 with a 6:01.06. Now, we do have to remember on this track that the gaps for the times are quite large, as it's a very long track. But so 2 seconds as a margin is not that much. 5 seconds is still not that much around here. We're used to seeing 0.2, 0.3 seconds, but yeah, we don't have it at the moment. We don't have it on this track, even. Anthony Mott sat in P3 with Martin Thomas in P4. Tom Smith, P5. And Michael Seal in P6. These guys are all separated by about 12 seconds. So everything is going well for these guys in these very, very nice sounding LMP2s powered by some very, very nice Honda engines. Just going up there, I think that's Flungplatz. It's very, very difficult to remember all of the corner names around here, and I do apologise if I get some of them wrong, but just going over the rise into the very quick left-hander here. Very, very fast corner in any car, but especially in these cars that are so quick, and that sounded like it was flat in this, or maybe a little bit of a lift, but it was certainly very quick, as Chris Knox at the moment is sat in P2 with a 1.55 second gap in the qualifying session. I really wonder what's going to happen by the end of this. It's going to be very interesting to see how these guys navigate this track and how they navigate the traffic. I'm just going to look on a little bit of a track map. As you can see, there's one car that's pretty much spaced out, but the rest are all pretty much on the same part of this track, and you can see the traffic in front of Chris Knox now. Chris Knox getting a little bit of traffic on his lap, and he's really not going to want that, as it looks like he's on a very... Oh, and he's in the wall. Chris Knox going a little bit wide there, clipping the wall, and that will ruin his lap. And these cars are made out of pretty much tinfoil, so they're very, very easy to damage. Running on board with Mike Hart now, who is sat in P1 with a 5:59. Only person in the 5 minutes at the moment. So it's going very, very well for Mike up at the front. I wonder if he's going to be able to... No, he is not. That's another little bit of a clip in the wall. There's going to be a lot of that tonight. There's going to be a lot of people going off, just clipping the wall. There'll probably be a few crashes, some big crashes, some little crashes. We'll just have to see, but I don't remember the last time I watched a race at the Nurburgring on iRacing. It has been a very, very long time, but I'm very looking forward to doing this tonight, as the drivers that are in here are some extremely talented drivers. As we just going through the grid here, Mike Hart in P1, as we know, but Chris Knox in the pits in P2, Richard Abra in P3 with only a 0.6 of a second gap to Chris Knox. So Richard Abra really on pace tonight. Richard Abra getting the time down around the Nurburgring, around the Nordschleife even. It's going to be very close between the top three, as we see they're only separated, well, probably the top four, maybe top five, as they're only separated by about 5 seconds, which round here is absolutely nothing. We see GT3 cars separated by about a second for the top 4, top 5, but then you have about 80 or 90 GT3 cars. So these guys are so close at the moment. as we're going to go on board with Tom Smith here, who's got a 6-minute 5.06. So Tom Smith is still on pace with everybody. Just a little bit further back in P6. Tom Smith doing very, very well. I think this is coming to an end of a lap. It may have been an out lap. I don't know. But we're going to see what Tom Smith did with a 6-minute 5. Is he going to improve? No, he isn't. So that was an out lap for Tom Smith. But we're going to watch him throughout this whole lap and see what happens. He's getting very, very close to the edges of this track. Very, very close to the grass. Oh, nearly on the white line. As that is an extremely quick section for Tom Smith. Tom Smith is absolutely flying at the moment. I'm just going to listen on the cars going around some of these corners like we're trackside, because these cars do sound amazing with these Honda powered engines in them. Listen to that engine roar going down top gear, going over a little bit of rise and a very, very quick left-hander. In GT3 cars, that's a little lift, but in these, I think it would be flat. They're very, very hard on the brakes, getting the car to slow down, as Tom Smith shows perfectly how to do. Tom Smith is absolutely flying at the moment. He's going extremely quickly. Look at the speed that he is taking down into the crest and up the hill. Now, this is a very dangerous corner. It's a left-hander, very tight left-hander there at speed, and you've got to get on the brakes as soon as you can to slow it down for this very technical section. Tom Smith doing an amazing job. Just watching there, just clipping some of the curbs, just watching to see where he's going, because around this track, a little bit of a line change can set you up for the next corner. And around this track, that's really what you need. You really do need to be set up for the next corner. Look, 2-3 corners ahead, and that's what Tom Smith is doing extremely well. And you never want to drive at 100%. It's always 90-95%. So if you drive at 100, usually you'll make a mistake, and that's when you hit the wall. So you need to drive at the certain limit where you know you're quick, but you're not absolutely on the limit of grip. Going down a very, very long straight. And we're going to get to a very, very technical left-hander soon. We're going to be able to see what Tom Smith does going up the hill now. This is a very, very quick section. Flat up the hill through a long left-hander, still flat. He'll be in top gear now. Still flat. He's still flat through here, and there's a left-hander coming up just up here, and there's a right-hander, and then it's over the crest into a left, or over the crest into the right, and there's this one, because you have to brake right there to get around it. This one here, very, very quick by Tom Smith, and right on the limit. That's a corner where a lot of people can get it wrong, and a lot of people can be in the wall very, very easily. Gonna have to watch out on that corner on lap 1. It looks like Tom Smith is absolutely flying. Oh, very unfortunate there, coming into the carousel for Tom Smith, clipping the wall, and he's gonna have to reset to pits, and that's gonna be his session over, unfortunately. Very unfortunate for Tom, because that was a very, very quick lap, and that could have put him up there near the front row, if not on it. Mike Hart now, we've got with still the leader with a 5:59.5, but Richard Abra with a 6:01.66. So he has improved a little bit, but not by much. He's improved by about not even a tenth of a second, but an improvement is still an improvement, and it's made him that little bit closer to Chris Knox. It looks like some people aren't actually qualifying or aren't in the session. Mike Hart now hitting 2:45 before he hits the brakes. Very, very quick there by Mike Hart. He's absolutely flying up this hill. Flying around the Nordschleife now. This is a lot of... this is a piece of track that's a favourite for a lot of people. Just near the end of the track. And I don't think he's going to get another lap in. No. So this will be Mike Hart's final lap, I think. Yes, this will be. And Richard Abber going P2. Richard Abber P2 with a 6-minute.52, overtaking Chris Knox. And Richard Abber is currently starting on the front row. Richard Abber resetting back to pits there. And Chris Knox can't get back out. So from Richard Abber, Chris Knox, Martin Thomas, Anthony Mott, Tom Smith and Michael Seal, in that order from P2 to P7, are still in the pits. And they're not going to be able to get back out on track. Mike Hart doesn't have to do anything unless Alex Montgomery, Alexander Martin, Carl Galloway, Paul Donkin or Kevin McClone can actually improve on the lap to get P1. I don't think Mike Hart is in any rush to get this lap done. Mike Hart is currently on pole with the next 6 cars behind him all in the pit lane. This has been an amazing session by Mike Hart as he's coming round the final 2 corners now, and it didn't clip the nearly on the grass there, but and a 5:58.6, improving by just over a second there, or over a second, well over a second by Mike Hart. I do apologise. Mike Hart getting a 5:58.65, so very, very good lap by Mike Hart. Very, very good lap. Mike Montgomery now, just moving back a little bit, is coming down the very, very long straight that we all know and love at the Nurburgring. This is where you really do need the draft, because this is where you can get a lot of time and get a lot of passes done. Coming around the final section now into the left-hander and then the right-hander that we've just seen Mike Hart go around at some astonishing speeds. And it's Alex Montgomery going to improve? He does! Alex Montgomery moves up a position and bumps Michael Seal down. Alex Montgomery in P7. So he moves up 1 position. Very good lap there by Andy Montgomery. And I don't know if he's going to get another lap in. I don't know how this works, but he may be able to get another lap in and finish the lap that he's on. So Andy Montgomery might have another chance. Alexander Martin going over the line. Alexander Martin moving up as well. Alexander Martin do a 6:09.47, which is 0.46 off Andy Montgomery's time, and critically pushing Michael Seal back down. So Alexander Martin getting a very good lap in there. Paul Donkin now. Paul Donkin in the this is the final part onto the very long straight. So Paul Donkin on the long straight, and Kevin McClone coming through the final section as well, I think. It's very difficult to figure out where everybody is on track, but we're going to ride on board with Paul Donkin. Is Paul Donkin going to do the same as everybody else and push people down? This will be his first timed lap, I think. So coming around the final corner there for Paul Donkin, and he's on the grass, but Paul Donkin going P2. Paul Donkin P2 with a 5:59.35. Incredible lap by Paul Donkin. Incredible first lap, and I think he's going to have to leave it there. He's going to leave it there. I think he run the fuel all the way down to the bottom of the tank, and Paul Donkin getting an amazing lap in with only 1 second, or not even that, 0.7 of a second off Mike Hart. I think Richard Abra has gone back out on track. Richard Abra has gone back out on track. Maybe just get a little bit more time in the car. We're going to run above with Kevin McClone, who's now coming down the very long straight again. I wonder what lap time Kevin McClone's going to do. Kevin McClone hasn't finished a lap yet, so I think this will be his first fastest lap. This will be Kevin McClone's first time lap as he hits the curb there on the exit. Don't run wide, and he's run wide onto the grass. But is he going to be able to get the lap in? Yes, he does. Kevin McClone going P3 with a 6:36, and critically pushing Richard Abra down another position. So Richard Abra now in P4. So Mike Hart and Paul Duncan on the front row in P1 and P2. Kevin McClone and Richard Aber at P3 and P4. But let's not count out Andy Montgomery and Alexander Martin, who are still on track. Now, I don't know if these guys are actually going to be able to finish their laps, but if they are, these guys could be on for a blinder of just an amazing show, because if they can finish their laps, they should be in with a chance of moving up some more positions with some warmer tyres. And Alex Montgomery there just clipping the wall, but I think he's going to carry on just to get a little bit more time in the car. Alexander Martin back to the pits as well. What's Richard Aber going to do? Richard Aber still driving around, and the roars and sounds of these cars are outstanding. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to leave you with the amazing driving of Richard Aber, and we shall be back in a couple of minutes. And we're back for the start of the race. Mike Hart in P1 with Paul Donkin, but alongside him with Kevin McClone and Richard Aber just behind. Chris Knox just behind him, and then Tom Smith. But everything is changing around. I don't know what the grid is going to be. All I know is Mike Hart is P1 and Richard Aber wants this win. The pace car is off. Everybody is gripping up. 5 lights are on. And the 5 lights are out, and away we go. Mike Hart getting a very good jump, locking up in the background there. And it looks like everybody got through cleanly. There's a little bit of a nudge there with that green car, and there's a spin. There's a spin just in the background there. I think that was Kevin McClone. Kevin McClone going a little bit off track. Mike Hart and Paul Donkin get an incredible start. Moving back down the field a little bit, Martin Thomas held his position during the start, but Anthony Mott just in front of him gained 2 positions. Anthony Mott jumping a few positions off the start, and Paul Donkin has gone for the lead. Paul Donkin's rolled. Paul Donkin has rolled, and he's going to get hit by other cars. Oh, Paul Donkin, and he's in the air again. Paul Donkin. We're going to have to go off of that, but we will go back to it as soon as we can. But Richard Abra is in the lead of this race after a very, very eventful start. We can hear the drivers in the background. They're just having a little bit of a chat about that incident. Just trying to listen in, but unfortunately we can't. Richard Abra in P1 with Chris Knox in P2, and the leaders being taken out of the race. Gonna roll on. Gonna roll on to Chris Knox here. So just trying to listen into what happened. I think Paul Donkin ran a little bit wide and then just clipped the grass, and then chaos occurred. Richard Abbott and Chris Knox running P1 and P2. We're going to move a little bit further back down the field as Andy Montgomery has gone off. Andy Montgomery has gone off just behind and having a little bit of spin, coming back on track. Martin Thomas again gained 2 positions going through that first lap, but Mike Hart losing quite a few positions in that incident. Mike Hart, who I think started on pole, Mike Hart, who started on pole, is now P5, so very unfortunate for Mike Hart. And he's going to have to try and find his way through the field. It's going to be very interesting to see what Mike Hart does. And we're going to go move back to that crash with Paul Donkin now. So Paul Donkin, oh, this is Mike Hart again. I do apologise. So here is Paul Donkin's little incident. He clipped that curb there. And, oh, and he got hit. Paul Donkin got hit. Oh, I think Paul Donkin got hit by Carl Galloway. And we're going to see Andy Montgomery's crash. I do apologise for that. Andy Montgomery there, I think he just clipped the grass on the way through way too quick and understeer in the grass, spun it round, kept it out of everybody's way, only just kept it in the wall. Good on him. Hold the brakes, and we kept it. Ooh, that was on the limit of dangerous. And Michael Seal has had an off as well. Michael Seal, and did he hit the grass? He hit the grass. Scraped on the wall, into the other wall, and that would have wrecked the whole front end of his car. And I think he had suspension damage from that, as Michael Seal has reset to the pit lane. So very good racing there from a lot of these drivers, but I think we're going to have to leave it on this little battle here, as Anthony Mott is in the lead of Anthony Mott, Martin Thomas and Mike Hart are battling for P3. It's going to be very interesting to see what Mike Hart and Martin Thomas do going through here. And is Mike Hart going to go? Oh, I through Mike Hart was going to try through the move through there then. And oh, Martin Thomas has had a little bit of an off. Martin Thomas got on the grass, and they're side by side. Side by side at the Nurburgring is very, very rare. Martin Thomas dropping the position there to Mike Hart. And Hovannes Giovannin passed Michael Tucker for P9. Let's have a look at that overtake as well. That's the same overtake as we just saw. And oh, he clipped the grass and then gets it done. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as Martin Thomas and Mike Hart. Just clipping the grass and having that little bit of overspeed. We're going to move back up to the leader here. Richard Abra and Chris Knox. Chris Knox trying to get the slipstream down the straight. Richard Abra changing line just to see if he can keep it going. See if he can break that little bit of a draft that Chris Knox is getting. Chris Knox is definitely gaining down the straight. That gap is definitely coming down. Is he going to be able to get him into turn 1? I really don't think he is, unless he gets that massive overspeed. They're less than a tenth away, and Chris Knox trying to get the move done. He's going to have to brake a little bit earlier so he doesn't run into the back of Richard Abra. That is extremely close racing by both of these drivers. Very, very good racing by both of them. And Richard Abra just blinking in and out there, unfortunately, so we're going to have to run on board with Chris Knox. Chris Knox just trying to stay in that little bit of a slipstream for the straight. The thing about the Nurburgring is you have to stay in the slipstream for the little short shoots. It really does help to get the power down and keep that speed up. As we see Chris Knox just behind Richard Abra now. Is Chris Knox going to be able to get the move done on any part of the Nürburgring or the Nordschleife, or is he going to wait and see what he can do during the straight? Kevin McClone has had a little bit of an incident. We'll go back and watch that. This is Chris Knox again. Kevin McClone, just clipping the grass and hit the wall. And Kevin McClone is going to keep on going, I think. And just gets a little bit too much power and nearly Austin powers it into the pits. He's going to pull straight into the pits, I think. No, reversing back on track and keeps it going. So good move there by Kevin McClone not to reverse out into traffic. We're going to have to move a little bit further back though, as Mike Hart is in a very heated battle with Anthony Mott. And Mike Hart trying to go up the inside through a fast left-hander. That's very brave from Mike Hart, having trust in the other drivers. Hopefully he can get the move done soon. This is very good racing by all of these drivers not to have binned it yet, because this track is very, very difficult to get right. Mike Hart and Anthony Mott right behind each other. I'm just going quiet to listen to these roars of the Honda engines, as it is absolutely outstanding to watch and outstanding to listen to. And they're going side by side up the hill. Mike Hart and Anthony Mott going side by side up the hill. Still side by side. Still side by side. Still side by side. And Mike Hart going to get the move done. He's got the right line for this corner. Big crash. Big crash. Big crash from Mike Hart and Anthony Mott.
Unnecessary, wasn't it?
Massive accident there. Massive accident. Let's see if we can get a replay on that. Anthony Mott and Mike Hart. And I think he just drifted over. I really do think he just drifted over, unfortunately. Let's see if we can watch that again from a different camera angle. So Mike Hart coming over, getting the right hander. Mike Hart didn't move his wheel. What happened? Let's watch Anthony Mott's view. Anthony Mott tries to turn into the corner and just clips him.
That was pretty intentional, I would say, Anthony.
That was very intense. That you do have to admit. Very unfortunate end to what could have been a very good battle. But we're going to have to run on board with Richard Abra here, who is leading the race, and Chris Knox just behind him as well. They are very close to each other around here. But it just all depends if Chris Knox can get that overspeed on the straight. doesn't look like Chris Knox is catching Richard Abra at all, unfortunately. Very good race from all the drivers here, apart from the little accidents that we've had. Alexander Martin has crashed as well, so we're going to watch it on board with Alexander Martin. I think he had a few off tracks before, and does the back end just break away, or does he clip a curb or clip the grass? Clips the grass there. This is Chris Knox. Having a little bit of an issue with our live timing software at the moment, but here's Alexander Martin. What happens here? Oh, and he loses it, and straight into the wall. Big crash up the fence. Wouldn't want to be that cameraman, because I'd be extremely scared. Coming out of lap 2 now, Chris Knox still right behind Richard Abra, and Chris Knox doing an amazing job. These guys are doing very, very well to keep it on track, because this isn't easy to do. It really isn't easy to get this sorted and get the car around this track. Chris Knox then getting some very, very good lap times in as well. Chris Knox consistently in the 601s, but Richard Abbott in the 601s too. And Martin Thomas just behind in the 601s as well, so it's very, very close for the top 3. Extremely good to watch these cars roar around this track, and just to see them absolutely send it sideways into corners, because it's not often that we see many people be able to properly go out in these cars. They are amazing to watch, and they're amazing to just see these drivers send them into corners and make sure they come out of them. They're so quick, and it's a shame that these cars aren't used anymore. These guys are very, very quick at the moment. These guys are absolutely flying around this track. It's I just have to keep quiet and just listen to them. These cars are amazing, and just watching the driving as well. If we go on board here with Chris Knox, we're going to see his wheel inputs. Just slight little inputs, so smooth, and so smooth on the throttle as well. Correcting pretty much every corner, as this thing is very, very lively on the rear end. And sending it into the carousel line. Chris Knox spun. Whoa, very, very close there from Chris Knox. Amazing save, though. Amazing save from Chris Knox to keep that in a straight line. I thought Chris Knox was a goner there. But we're going to go back out into our trusty TV cam. These guys are doing incredibly well. I keep saying it, but these guys are doing outstanding to keep these cars on the track at all times. Coming on to the final straight now. It looks like Richard Abbott is going to take the win. Martin Thomas has caught up quite a lot, though, in the final lap. One more lap, and Martin Thomas might have just had them. But Richard Abbott looks like he's going to take the win for race number 1. What an amazing drive by Richard Abbott. Getting this car around this track in general is an achievement, but to win a race that was that competitive is outstanding work. So congratulations to Richard Abbott, the race 1 winner of the PureGT Series. Chris Knox coming home in P2 with Martin Thomas just behind in P3, giving a little bit of a clip to Chris Knox there. I go through on the final few laps. Tom Smith and Anthony Mott are quite close. Tom Smith, though, is going to keep that gap, I feel, and Tom Smith is going to come home in P4 with Anthony Mott just behind in P5. P6 is going to be Havana's Givergian. Sorry about that. Kevin McClone coming round on his final lap to take P7. Coming around the last few corners. There it is, Kevin McClone coming home in P7. Carl Galloway is still coming down the straight, but he is P8. Gained 4 positions this race. So very, very good job from Carl Galloway. And he spun on the final lap. Carl Galloway has spun on the final lap and he's reset to pits. Alexander Martin is also in pits. And so is Mike Hart. But what an amazing race from those drivers. The results will come up very, very shortly. But what an amazing race from Richard Abbott. Richard Abbott getting 3 positions after the start. And it was very interesting to watch Richard Abbott do what he does best, which is absolutely send it into every single corner that he can. The results will come up as soon as we can get them, which shouldn't be too long. But I can confirm Richard Abbott has won the race with Chris Knox in P2, Martin Thomas in P3 with Tom Smith P4, Anthony Mott P5, Havanis Giovanni. Oh wow, I'm gonna get that right at the end of the night. Givorgian in P5, Kevin McClone in Givorgian in P6, Kevin McClone in P7, Carl Galloway in P8, Alexander Martin P9, Mike Hart P10, Paul Duncan P11, Andy Montgomery P12, Michael Tucker in P13, and Michael Seal in P14. What a really good race from those drivers. I don't think we have any interviews, but let's find out. I do not think we're going to have any interviews for race number 1. Keep it open just to see what happens, but what an amazing race by Richard Abra, gaining all those positions at the start and keeping it going all the way to the end. And as we see these guys grid up, it's going to be random grid, and it's going to be a very, very good grid as well. Havanas Givorgian. Let's just call him Havanas. Havanas in P1 with Anthony Watt P2. Tom Smith in P3 with Martin Thomas in P4. Chris Knox in P5 with Richard Abra, race 1 winner in P6. Kevin McClone in P7, Paul Donkey in P8. Andy Montgomery in P9 with Alexander Martin P10. Mike Hart P11, Michael Tucker P12, Carl Galloway P13, and Michael Seal is in P14. Unlucky for Michael Seal as he came last in the last race as well. And they are going on to their formation lap. So let's watch on board with Tom Smith on his little bit of a formation lap. This is going to be a very good race yet again for these guys. I can feel it. As some of the drivers are doing a little bit of a check up. Just warming their brakes up a little bit. No weaving in this, as people don't like to weave on the grid. These guys don't take it that seriously, but the racing is still very, very good. And the lights are off. Lights are on. And lights out and away we go. And it looks like Anthony Mott has it's been a very good start by Havanas. Havanas P1, Anthony Mott P2, Tom Smith P3, and Martin Thomas in P4. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens further back down the field. We're going to watch on board with the race 1 winner, Richard Abra. Wonder what Richard Abra is going to do this time, because he's a bit farther back. He's blinking a little bit, which is obviously going to throw other people off his trail. I've heard rumours that Richard Abra actually has a button for that. And Alexander Martin has crashed as well. Alexander Martin has crashed into the wall. Very unfortunate by Alexander Martin. Richard Abra is still got Paul Duncan right on his tail. Paul Duncan has been has overtaken Kevin McClone. Moving a little bit further up the field, then Martin Thomas is only about 2 tenths away from the car ahead. So very, very good. These three are getting into an intense battle as Martin Thomas just pushing Tom Smith there into corners. And he's going to be under attack by Chris Knox as well. Chris Knox is going to try and get the move done on the outside. On the outside of the corner going onto the inside. He's going to have the line into the second hand of the corner. But he's getting flashed there. Chris Knox flashing Martin Thomas to give the position back. Give me that position, he's saying. And Martin Thomas is going to go wide. Martin Thomas is going to hit the wall. Is he going to rejoin in traffic? Yes, he is. This could be carnage. And these guys just about avoid it. Very lucky for those guys. As Kevin McClone isn't happy with that little rejoin, but I don't think anybody would be. Chris Knox is now chasing down Tom Smith, and Havanis has had an amazing start. He's still leading by about 6/10, so very, very good from Havanis. With Anthony Mott just behind, and Richard Abra is just behind Chris Knox. So Richard Abra is absolutely flying. Richard Abra is going as quick as he can to try and get this second win of the evening. Chris Knox catching Tom Smith here. Chris Knox, is he going to try and get the move done on Tom Smith into the podium places? This is a move for P3. Is Chris Knox going to go try and round the outside? Giving, Tom Smith giving him absolutely no room whatsoever. And Chris Knox is going to try and get it done on the inside, going to the fastest section of this track, with the most dangerous corner on this track as well, and he gets the move done in dirty air. He clips the grass. Is he going to get it done on Anthony Mott as well for P2, going into the corner? Is he going to move to the inside? Yes, he is. Going to get him on the brakes. Yes, he is. Amazing move by Chris Knox, forcing him out wide, but there's going to be a cutback there by Anthony Mott. Anthony Mott sending it up the inside again. Amazing racing by these guys. Very, very clean. Anthony Mott getting that little bit of a cutback on Chris Knox. We can't see anything around the carousel. Who put a camera there? Going to ride on board with Chris Knox. Is Chris Knox going to try and get the move done? Going up the hill into Hoact now. Going through the left-handers up the hill at a very, very fast pace. Going through the left-hander and the right-hander. This is exciting racing as he goes wide. Tom Smith goes wide. Anthony Mott goes wide, sorry. Anthony Mott goes wide on the grass, and Chris Knox has to check up, which is going to give the run for Tom Smith. This is, I'm losing my breath. Tom Smith gained a lot through there. And is Tom Smith going to try and get the move done on the straight? All three of them are going to have draft. And Tom Smith is definitely going to get the double slipstream off both of the cars in front. What did I miss? What did I miss? How is Chris Knox in P2? What was I doing? I was looking through the events. We're going to move a little bit further back. What happened? He went off track. Oh, no. No. Oh, Anthony Mott going off track there, losing all of the time that he gained. And Chris Knox is gone into P2. And now it is the battle of the orange cars behind, as we have Tom Smith, Paul Donkin and Anthony Mott going as quick as they can. And just behind there, just watching behind, Martin Thomas and Mike Hart having a, not Martin Thomas, Mike Hart, sorry, Anthony Mott and Martin Thomas having a quick battle. Moving a little bit further back, Martin Thomas and Mike Hart are also having a battle, coming down onto the straight. I don't know who to watch. This is going to get incredibly close up front, but incredibly close behind as well. Paul Donkin. Is Paul Donkin going to get the move done on... Anthony Mott going to get the move done on Tom Smith. No, sorry, I was correct. Paul Donkin going to get the move done on Tom Smith. Is he going to get the move done? He's on the... Oh, this is going to get very, very close going into final section with a car in front of them. They both have traffic. They're going side by side. Chris Knox can't go any quicker. And just slotting in there by Paul Donkin. Paul Donkin just trying to get that move done. Going to go a little bit further back as I think Mike Hart. And Mike Hart spun. Mike Hart has spun Anthony Mott round. Anthony Mott is not going to be happy with that. And I just come across the first lap. What incredible racing by these guys. Very, very exciting. We're just going to go back through a few incidents that we missed during the race. Richard Abra has had an incident. Our live timing software is still messing up. I do apologise. Richard Abra he crashed at some point. Is he going around into this corner, hitting the carousel, and it chucked him out wide? No, it spun him round. And, and he thankfully just spun around Alexander Martin as well. This was right at the start of the race, I think. No, it wasn't. This was Alexander Martin going... Oh, no, it was. Oh, big crash. And what's the car going to do behind? Oh, just get through. Very, very lucky there for both of those drivers. And Paul, we were just missing this. Paul Duncan and Chris Knox going through a battle. Paul Duncan overtakes Chris Knox. We'll get a replay on that, on this, these moves, because I'm guessing there's going to be a few. Paul Duncan moving over to try and defend from Chris Knox, but it was a very, very late move. Chris Knox having to weave, and Chris Knox is going to get the move done on the inside of the track, going up the hill into left-hander, getting very, very hard on the brakes, trying to get the car slowed down. Brakes as late as possible, and actually gets the move done with Paul Duncan just behind. And is Paul Duncan going to try and get the run down on the straight? I think he is. I don't know if he's going to get the move done, but as we know, this is a very, very fast left-hander. And if he has, yeah, he's not going to send it up the inside, thankfully. But we're going to move back to watch that move. What an amazing move by Chris Knox and Paul Duncan. Going side by side down the straight. Ooh, this is, we want to go a little bit further back, actually, to see what happened. So they were going side by side all the way down. And they go side by side through the corner. Side by side through the corner by both of these drivers. That's just how quick these cars are. And very, very close by those two. Very, very close racing by both of these drivers. Chris Knox and Paul Duncan definitely having some fun in these cars. And they are actually catching Havanis. They're actually catching P1, which is Havanis Jurvagian. Or Jurvagian. Or I'm going to figure out how to say that name for the next one. I do apologise. This is incredible racing by all of these drivers. Hats off to every driver that turned up tonight and every driver that raced, because this isn't an easy track, and this really, I'm not saying that just because this track really is not very easy to drive. It's very, very difficult to see what these guys are going to do and where they're going to do it.
Really? Come on.
Kevin, watch it back. I don't have anywhere to go, mate. I'm literally on the edge of the track.
I think there was a little bit of an incident there with Kevin McClone and Mike Hart.
It wasn't your position to take.
Hey? I was ahead of you.
You weren't.
Gonna leave those guys to have a little bit of an argument, and I'm gonna talk over them so we don't have to listen.
What you'd expect me to do.
But Paul Duncan in P2 with Chris Knox just behind. Paul Duncan has pulled a gap on Chris Knox, and this is actually the closest battle we have on track at the moment.
Kevin, the first time you put me on the grass, and I tried not to touch you, but
Havanis still in P1 with Paul Duncan just behind, and these guys are getting louder, so I'm going to have to talk a little bit louder as Paul Duncan is chasing down Havanis very, very slowly, but he is catching. This is a 4-lap race as well, so 4 laps throughout this whole race. And oh, is it 4 or 3? I think it's 3. I don't actually know. It might be 3 actually.
It's not my position to take. How does that? Do I have to write a letter to you or something?
I'm not going to argue it, Mike.
These guys are going. Oh, Chris Knox is going to spin. Chris Knox is going to spin. There's going to be a big accident. Oh, it's a 3-car pile-up. And one of them was an innocent bystander. Those guys are going to get through, and it gets... Oh, this is very, very dangerous. Chris Knox having a little bit of a spin. I was just going to say how clean this racing was. We have a white flag, so this is a 3-lap race. Amazing driving by these guys, though. There has been a little few incidents, but you do have to expect that. As now, Paul Donkin is P2, but Martin Thomas just behind in P3. Paul Donkin made up 6 positions this race. I'm sorry, I am quite tired, as you can probably tell. But Paul Donkin has made up 6 positions this race, which is an amazing achievement, you do have to admit, to gain that many positions in one race. Especially with this amount of cars. We only have 14 cars. 12 of which are still running. Gonna have to move a little bit further back though, as Kevin McClone is having a little bit of a battle with Anthony Mott. This could shape up to be a very, very close battle soon. And Chris Knox has crashed. Chris Knox has crashed. This is the crash that Chris Knox had. He's come back on track very, very slowly. Oh, is this the crash that they're talking about? I do not know. Oh. Parked it in the middle of the track, unfortunately. And we're going to ride on board with Paul Donkin as well, because Paul Donkin went off track as well. Clipped the grass, and is he going to go straight into the wall? You can never get the car slowed down there. It's... Oh! Big accident there. For, I think it was Paul Donkin and... that would have been the leader. That's Paul Donkin and... It's not the leader. What has happened up in front? I think there has been a change for the lead. As Havanis comes back on, and Havanis passed Tom Smith for P2. Oh, here it is. Sorry, that's my fault. So Martin Thomas has a big incident. Unfortunately, he blinks out. I don't know when that pass was made. I do apologise, but just got to know that Martin Thomas is now P1, and Kevin and Havanis Juvenainen is P2 with a big gap. Gonna have to be back there to Kevin McClone, as these guys are still very close to each other. And Andy Montgomery has had an incident as well as Richard Abra. Richard Abra has had a crash as well. This is Richard Abra, that's still Kevin. Richard Abra's crash just coming up here, as he is just going to take a bit too much speed and clips the curb, hits the curb, and in the same place hits the wall. It's very unfortunate for Richard Abra there. And Andy Montgomery as well, we're going to worry on board with him. What did Andy Montgomery do, having such a good race, but just, I think he just takes a little bit too much speed, or hits the curb. Yeah, hits the curb, spins him around, and that is Andy Montgomery. Little bit of an incident. Richard Abra crashed again. What's this accident from Richard Abra? He's got aero damage. Richard Abra definitely has aero damage as he hits the wall, stays clear of everybody, hits another wall, jumps to pits. And that's Richard Abra out of this race. Unfortunately, we're going to have to be a little bit up front, because Tom Smith and Mike Hart are having a battle for a podium position. Tom Smith and Mike Hart definitely not going to hold back on this battle at all. They're going to be extremely racy on the final lap of the race. I wonder what's going to happen between these two, as they've had quite a few races in the past that I have seen, and they've been very spicy. Getting a lot closer. Mike Hart getting a lot closer to Tom Smith. I really hope there's not going to be an accident in this. Mike Hart just needs to hold back, get him on the straight, not rush this move. If he stays in the draft for the straight, Mike Hart is definitely going to get Tom Smith on that very long straight that we have right at the end of the track. He's right on his bumper. Mike Hart is right on Tom Smith's bumper. Just ease off. Ease off. It's the final lap. You can get him on the straight. This is very close between these two. And unless Tom Smith makes a mistake, Mike Hart shouldn't go for the pass. Mike Hart is pushing extremely hard to put pressure on Tom Smith. Hoping he makes a mistake on the carousel. He does not. And Mike Hart has dropped back about to about 5/10 going onto the straight. Is Mike Hart going to get this move done before we go onto the straight? No, he is not. So we've got the final straight coming down. This extremely long straight as Tom Smith, just seen, has set the fastest lap of the race with a 6-minute 4.04. And these two are nose to tail. As you can see behind there, a nose to tail as well. We'll watch that in a minute. We really can't watch P1. I do apologise. Martin Thomas winning the race with Havanas Jovanen behind him, and Mike Hart is going to get the move done coming into the final section of this lap for a podium position. Mike Hart is on the left hand side of the track with Tom Smith on the right hand side. They're going to go side by side into the final section. He forces Tom Smith onto the grass. Oh, very unfortunate there for Tom Smith. Going to move a little bit further back though as Anthony Mott and Kevin McClone are having a battle as well. Kevin McClone eases off. Let's Anthony Mott take that position. But your race winner then, Martin Thomas. Martin Thomas winning your race by a hefty margin of about 7 seconds.
That's cool.
And there's the image that we wanted to see. All the cars side by side in turn 1. Amazing racing by these guys. Alexander Martin coming home in P7, gaining 3 positions this race. So very, very well done to Alexander Martin. Andy Montgomery, after I think 2 or 3 incidents, Andy Montgomery is P8, and just behind him is Michael Tucker coming through the final section in P9. So very, very well done to all of these drivers tonight. It was definitely not easy at all for these guys, and I know how difficult this track is, but it was very, very good racing from all of these guys. We unfortunately cannot get the results of the final race because the whole thing has changed. Have we got another race? I don't think we do. I think that is it. Yes, that is it. Just going to see if we've got anybody for interviews. I do not think we do. But how good was that? That was such good racing yet again. And you've got to admit, it is always like this with PureGT. PureGT is always the best racing on every single night that I have ever seen. PureGT Series is a free-to-enter series. They do this on every Wednesday night. I was thinking out which night we were. Every Wednesday night they do this, and you've got to admit, it is amazing racing. So I have been Cameron Hawes, and for ASR tonight, we thank you for watching. The coverage was... Please let us know how the coverage was in the comment section, or you can email us on the Absolute Sim Racing website. Our email is just on there, all of our contact details as well. If you want to get in contact with us about broadcasting a series, please feel free. All of our contact details, as I said, are on our website. And yeah, what amazing racing by all of the guys tonight. It was amazing to watch these guys race, and hopefully we can be back for some more next time. So I've been Cameron Hawes. Thank you for popping over, guys, and we will see you in the next one.